Hey, this is Dave Noonan. Thank you so much for watching. In today's video, we're going to try and answer the question, what the heck is SCORM actually? And the reason we're going to tackle this question is this face, this look of confusion and nervousness that if you've been in life science learning for a while, you can think back to your first meeting with, I don't know, your vendor partner and the IT department, thinking about that e-learning module you wanted to create, and the topic of SCORM came up and you had no idea what they were talking about. Or if you're not in life science learning for a while and maybe it's on your career path and you have no idea what we're talking about with SCORM, we want you to avoid making this face in your first meeting. And that's the intention behind this video. We are not going to be experts in SCORM at the end of this conversation. We're going to leave that to the experts. We just want to know what the heck SCORM is actually. And the first important thing to know is SCORM is not a word. It sounds like one, but it's not. SCORM is actually an acronym, and what it stands for is Shareable Content Object Reference Model. And my pause there in the middle is intentional. A shareable content object we can think about as the e-learning program that you're looking to create because it is a shareable piece of content that you want to offer up to your learning audience, typically on your learning management system. So that's your shareable content object. And reference model refers to a set of standards by which that program is going to be created so that it plays right and plays well on your learning management system. So it's a shareable content object reference model, set of standards. Now, you might be asking yourself the all important question here, why do we need a reference model or a set of standards for making e learning? Why can't we just build it, put it on the LMS, and let it run? It's kind of a complicated question. We're not going to make it complicated here. We're just going to break it into two parts. Part one is, as developers of e-learning and even consumers of that e-learning, we want the important data to be captured. And by important data, there's lots of data that we can communicate via an e-learning program to an LMS. But the big three are completion. Did you get it done or not? Score, if that's relevant, and the time you spent in the program. So we need a reference model because we really want to be sure that that information is captured. In life sciences, highly regulated industry, this is really, really important that it happens. And in part two, how it happens becomes critical. These systems, the e-learning program and the learning management system, they need to play nice together. And so this visual, I think, puts it pretty squarely. Your e-learning program needs ultimately to send or deliver information like completion, score, and time to the learning management system. The SCORM, the shareable content object reference model, ensures that that e-learning can in fact have that communication cleanly with the learning management system. And that gap actually is represented by this kind of blob here on the screen, and SCORM sits right in there, this reference model, to really bridge the gap between the two. And you might be thinking, gosh, why is this so complicated? If you just have an e-learning program there on the left and your learning management system on the right, why is this such a big deal? And the reality is, it's a big deal because you don't just have one kind of or one e-learning program, right? You have many. You have e-learning programs that are built on different authoring platforms. You have e-learning programs that were built several years ago. You have e-learning programs that may be built by different vendor partners. And so the fact that you can get content from all these different places means if you're not talking the same language, if there isn't a reference model in place to make sure that everything kind of does what it needs to do, you can imagine it getting very crazy and a little bit untenable. Make matters a little more complicated on the right hand side of this equation. um, you don't just have one LMS in many organizations. You have maybe two or three learning management systems. You maybe have a mobile learning platform. And so, again, if you don't have a common language or a common set of standards, in this case, SCORM, things would absolutely not play well together. You wouldn't capture all of that important data. These things would not play nice together, and it would make everybody's life miserable. Now, quick point about SCORM. SCORM has been around for well over 20 years at this point as the industry standard. There are other standards, there are other reference models, to use that terminology, out there. XAPI is one that we're going to cover in a separate video. But there are others as well that have not caught on, at least in life science learning, to the degree that SCORM has or is as the standard. And so just know that SCORM is the standard. There's others out there, and we'll cover those in a separate video to create this bridge between our content and our platforms. Now, quick bonus insight to end this video with. It would be really simple if SCORM was just SCORM, but nothing can be that simple. Yes, there are as many as 5 different versions or iterations of SCORM. You don't need to know them all. There are 2 that get used more than any other, and that is SCORM 1.2 and SCORM 2004. It is very much beyond the scope of this conversation to get into how those are similar or different. It's not super important. It is just important to know that you should ask the question and understand what your LMS, what your mobile learning platform takes, so that you can ensure that your e-learning matches that version of SCORM. So, to round things out, hopefully you now feel extra confident that if you're in that next meeting and the topic of SCORM comes up, you will not have that first gray cat, that wide-eyed, nervous look on your face. Instead, you'll give a little wink and say, "Ah, I know what you're talking about. I know what SCORM is all about." And I wish you luck in that meeting for sure. I appreciate you watching the video. If you have thoughts on SCORM or learning technology in general, please leave me a comment. As I said, I'm not the expert. I'm open to learn and would love to hear your thoughts on the topic. And if you'd like to see other videos like this, feel free to go to davenoonan.me for more. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next video.